How is Elon Musk going to unravel? I ask this because I hope that people who write about business for a living will start to pay attention to an epic tragedy unfolding in plain view. Elon Musk was once the richest man on the planet. That title has been reclaimed by some French guy who makes overpriced booze and handbags. As with many titanic figures, the person who can destroy Elon Musk, the only person, is Elon Musk. Had he been more like, for example, Bill Gates, he would have stepped back from his successful ventures and dedicated himself to a good cause like disease eradication. Then gaffes and retrograde politics and his personal issues would not be so much in the public eye, and his businesses would be in steadier hands. The basis of the tragedy is that Elon Musk seems to be in the grip of a delusion, partly based in insecurity and partly based in the kinds of science fiction influences that on a good day make technologists more ambitious, but in Elon's case, it makes them unwilling or unable to be objective and realistic. If, like me, you are old enough to remember figures like Edward Teller, you know that even legitimate scientists are willing to portray unrealistic futures in order to attract the resources to achieve goals that are impressive, but just not relatable enough to excite the populace. If that was all that Elon was engaged in, he would be clever, not tragic. It's nothing new for very wealthy men to go off the rails in personal paranoia and politics. Henry Ford was openly anti-Semitic, and he dabbled in interfering with U.S. international relations. His personal views led his company into follies like the Fordlandia rubber plantation in Brazil. So how is it then that Elon Musk is especially tragic? Elon has scaled up the process of losing money to where it can become a self-sustaining cascade. Taking ready cash from a liquid investment in Tesla shares and buying Twitter is a good place to mark the shift from quirky to paranoid and unhinged. This cascade is what the press that covers Elon should be paying attention to. Something largely forgotten is that Elon impulsively offered to buy Twitter at a premium that could not be refused. An airtight contract was put in front of Elon, which he signed while explicitly proclaiming no need for due diligence. Then he spent a year delaying and trash-talking Twitter, apparently hoping Twitter would seek to drop the deal. Elon can be obnoxious and insulting, and his trashing of Twitter was a tour de force, but Twitter's board had no choice but to enforce the contract. On the eve of litigation, Elon surrendered to the fact that he now owns Twitter. Can you imagine the mix of emotions? He had just spent the greater part of his readily accessible wealth buying a thing he did not want anymore. Everyone now working for him knows this. It is difficult to imagine an ownership transition less auspicious. Let that sink in. Now Twitter has more than $13 billion in debt and less than half the revenue it had at the time Elon bought it. Tesla shares are down by more than half from their peak, and Elon's efforts to claim Tesla is something other than a car maker are way too familiar from, in some cases, 10 years ago. The stainless steel wank pantser is still in tiny production numbers. The Tesla Semi is pushed to 2025, and don't mention the new Roadster. I told you not to mention the new Roadster. In other words, Elon's nonsensical priorities at Twitter are rubbing off on his leadership at Tesla. As I will no doubt be reminded in the comments section, Falcon 9 is a brilliant rocket for putting things in Earth orbit, but Starship is an Elon passion project, and as such has served as a vivid example of how not to manage a project, or if you want to look at it from the rocket engineering point of view, an example of how not to take into account the way that reusability goals interact with the rocket equation. There's more than one dimension in which Starship could prove to be unworkable. It was certainly a distinctive idea to have what Elon calls a hardware-rich design environment for the world's biggest rocket. But now that each iteration in that hardware-rich iterative environment entails destroying 39 rocket engines that are no doubt having their own manufacturing teething problems, perhaps SpaceX should have taken a less cut-and-try approach. That remarkable rate of destruction will continue until Starship's booster, at least, is able to safely return and land. It may be that more of it should have been done in the digital domain. If these three things, Twitter, Tesla, and SpaceX, become materially diminished, something Twitter has already attained, Dying social networks are the most regrettable catch of all falling knives. But if the other two go, if Tesla becomes just a car company that has a car company valuation, that will trigger Elon having to come up with more collateral for his margin debt, and Starship ends up a museum piece like a space spruce goose. Then Elon will still be a billionaire, but he won't have the wherewithal to make his ego visible from outer space.